America takes 9 months and costs that bank $25,000 cash of their own money to get rid of the mortgage that they put in place, to go through the foreclosure process, to get a judge to remove the mortgages, which are their mortgages, and instead of the mortgages, take the property back, which is real estate owned. It goes onto their balance sheets as now they actually own now that real estate. Before they owned the piece of paper that's called a mortgage, which has a tremendous amount of value if you're a bank. Do you think houses have value if you're a bank?
No.
No, they absolutely are worthless to a bank. Here's how it works. Banks are in the lending business, not in the real estate business. It's the first thing. In America, we hear a lot of people say, I have this really great house and this really great business, and the bank just wants it because they're just trying to take it because the bank does not want your stuff. If you had their gig, if you had their deal, creating money out of thin air and charging people interest for it, do you believe that they would really, really want to take on the liability of a piece of real estate? No, they absolutely would not. That's not how they make their money. They make their money in one simple way, lending. But when the Federal Reserve refuses to accept real estate that they've now spent real cash, remember, their liquidity goes down even further. Their lending goes down, their borrowing ability goes down further as a bank. Now they can't lend as much because they have these hard assets on their balance sheet and they spent real money to get those hard assets. Now lending becomes paralyzed, which is exactly what's happened in the last year or so in the United States, and now starting to happen where anywhere that has a mortgage, you're starting to see this take place. So what must the bank do next? The bank must sell the real estate, sell the properties. How do they do that? They list that with local realtors. They list that on multiple listing services on the MLS. They send them to auctions and try to auction them off. Their goal is to sell it, to get rid of it, and get as much as they possibly can. Well, that's about everybody's goal, right? Sell it and get as much as you possibly can. Now here's the thing to remember. When it was a mortgage, it was on the asset side of the balance sheet. So the bank had a piece of paper they were getting the spread on. They owed a lot less. They owed the same amount, but they were charged a lot less interest. They get to count that. So that's on the asset side. When they spend their real money to get that piece of paper, that mortgage now goes away. So their asset goes away. When that house comes back, they place it on their liability side of their balance sheet. So bank balance sheets are extremely affected by foreclosures, and they want to sell them at any price, especially now with the way banking is going. Exactly the example I gave you was what happened to WAMU in the United States. Washington Mutual, they got paralyzed and they could no longer lend, and everyone, in addition to that, everyone went out and asked for their money back out of the bank too. That was another big thing. Then you saw our FDIC insurance go from $100,000 to $250,000 overnight. Remember that? When that happened, that was to keep everyone safe. Please don't take your money out of banks, because that would create exactly what happened. No one listened. They went and started pulling their money out, plus the foreclosures. There was no liquidity there. The Federal Reserve couldn't help them, had to close down the bank. Okay? Now, so Pinnacle Property Solution comes in and we buy these properties. We buy these REOs, this real estate, but we buy them differently. We're not trying to buy them one at a time. We buy them in bulk. So we go to banks, institutions. We go to insurance companies, pension companies, life insurance life companies. We go to auction houses. We go to consolidators. We go to banks. We go to all different types, and we buy between, bulk simply means it could be 10 homes, it could be 1,000 homes, it could be 500 homes at a time. We go and buy multiple homes from one seller. Here's the major difference. If you go buy a piece of real estate, this is why this is not a real estate transaction completely. If you go buy a piece of real estate, you are buying from whom? A seller. Who's the seller usually in a piece of real estate? A person. It's an individual. This is not that. We do not buy from individuals, ever. We buy from consolidators, from institutions, from people that have bought large quantities of homes, and they sell us large quantities of homes on a contract basis. It's simply like you could be selling dominoes or yo-yos or houses. It's the same thing. So they'll put all those together in a contract. So here's how this business differs from buying from an individual. When you're buying from a company on a corporate bulk deal level, this is some of the differences. Number one, we buy most of our properties on quitclaim deeds, which means that the bank or the institution we're buying from give us a deed that says we quit our claim into the property. It's basically the monetary. I just lost my word. It's the capital asset of that piece of real estate. So remember, they've removed their mortgage. Now they have this property. They're going to say, we're going to sign over the liquidity, basically the equity. That's what we call equity. Equitable position. They sell their equitable position in the piece of real estate via quitclaim deed. And they say, we're going to sell it to you, to me. I buy all these. Don't forget that. I buy 100% of these. As is, wherever they are in the U.S. Now we like to look everywhere on a nationwide level because we can negotiate great deals. Wherever the price is the least, that's where we're at looking to make a deal. We don't want to compete with other investors. We don't look to bid on properties and try to bid these up. We don't go into markets we tend to stay out of, California, Arizona, Nevada, and Florida, specifically for that reason. Now we get houses in all of those states, but we'll buy them on our terms, not on their terms. And right now they're still overpaid in all 4 of those states tremendously, especially in California. I think they have another 30%. We were just there this last weekend, going back in a few days, back to LA. I think they have another 30% by the end of the year, and many people call for another 50% reduction. So we don't want to buy something that can depreciate in value. That's not what we do. We want to buy at the absolute very bottom. We want to figure out what that is. Now here's when you're dealing with the bank, here's the thing to remember when you're dealing with the bank. If I were to give you if you were to bring me a dime, and I were to give you $1 every time you brought me a dime, would you do that? Sure. How many times would you do that? As many times as I let you, right? As many times as I would let you. And that's exactly the case with us. When we go making these deals and arrangements with these institutions, we're trying to buy these properties for somewhere around a dime. Okay? I'm using that as an example. Sometimes it's 7 or 8 cents, sometimes it's 15 or 20 cents. But it's around a dime. So that means that at some time in the past, this house was valued, sold for, had a mortgage on, at a much higher amount. And now we're buying it at a much lower amount. So we've negotiated a great deal. We take those deals based on the deal itself. We're looking to buy cheap. Okay? Everybody understand that? We're looking to buy cheap. I'm not looking to do all of the little intricate negotiations that a lot of individuals would do, because I'm not buying one piece of property. I don't care whether it's pink, blue, purple, brick, vinyl on the left side or right side of the street. I don't care what zip code it's in. I really don't care about anything at that point except the deal. How many will you sell me, and what's the price that you sell them to me for? Now, in the beginning, that's what we're trying to negotiate. Everything that I just mentioned is called a filter in this business. And every filter that you place on the property increases the price of the property. Make sense? I want 10 days due diligence. I want to pay you in a month. I want to put a little bit down and then work with you on the balance. I want just houses in this condition. I want just houses in this zip code. You just made the price go way up. And that's what we absolutely do not do. We go to the banks and say, we'll take all this stuff right here and just sell us at this price. And so they figure out what they'll sell us. And then we bid on some of these. Sometimes we bid. We never broker. There's a lot of people out there that broker. We do not do that. We're bidders and buyers. We simply bid on stuff, or we buy stuff contractually. We love to go in and buy. So it can be anywhere, as is. What they tell us is, listen, you're getting the property. It's coming with no mortgages. You're responsible for all the taxes and levies or utility bills or anything that's attached to the property. One thing we can tell you is there will be no mortgages on it, because we owned them when we took it off. And now you can have it free of mortgages. You have it as is wherever it is. So it's going to be in whatever condition it's in. They don't say it's going to be this condition or that condition, because we haven't asked for that filter. We're simply looking for a price. So we're looking for whatever they'll sell us. We receive the contracts that day. We execute. We return the contracts with vesting information. Everybody know what vesting is? Vesting says basically this. The bank is saying, now that we're in a contract, they've agreed to sell us 100 houses for this amount of money. We've signed the contract, they've signed the contract, we've got an Excel spreadsheet with 100 addresses on it. This is the houses. We're buying them as is, wherever they are located, at this price we've agreed on. We sign it, they sign it. They want us to return which name. Where would you like these to be vested to? What name would you like us to put these in? We put these in our business. We create land trusts and place all the properties in each property in its own individual land trust. Everybody know what a land trust is? A land trust in the United States is a simple, easy way. It's kind of like a business, like an IRA. It's not you. It's a third party. It can't die. It can't get sick. It can't go broke. You know what I'm saying? It's an entity. So a trust, everybody knows what a trust is, right? It's simply a land trust. It is a thing that is formed, documentation that is formed for the purpose of holding and transferring real estate.
We call it a holding company.
A